2 steps ahead. I am always 2 steps ahead. This has been the greatest social experiment of my entire life.
So let's talk about Nikocado Avocado for a second. If you spent any time on YouTube in the last few years, you know exactly who he is. This guy has built an entire empire around mukbangs, drama, and let's be real, a lot of chaos. Love him or hate him, you can't ignore him, and that's exactly the point. Now imagine Nikocado drops a bombshell video titled 2 Steps Ahead. I'm talking full Joker arc vibes. And it's not just another one of his clickbait titles, it's real. He's there sitting in his iconic, chaotic backdrop with the usual fast food. But this time, his eyes have a sharp glint. It's about to reveal that everything, all this mess we've been watching since 2021, was all planned. It was all one big, elaborate social media experiment, and what would we even do with that? First off, let's break this down. The idea of consciously choosing to be a villain on the internet is kind of genius in its own twisted way, and that's only the hook, right? We all love a good villain. There's a reason why characters like the Joker or Walter White from Breaking Bad captivate us. We're drawn to the madness, the chaos, and the unpredictability. Nikocado, whether we like to admit it or not, has tapped into that same energy. He's crafted a narrative where he's not just some guy eating way too many chicken nuggets or eating way too many pizza, but instead, he's become the anti-hero of the mukbang world. Think about it. Villains get more screen time, villains create more conversation, and villains keep you glued to your screen because you want to see what outrageous things they'll do next. Nikocado knows this. He's not just reacting to what people say, but instead, he's pulling the strings. If he comes out and says, yup, I've been playing all of you like a fiddle this entire time, that would be one hell of a plot twist. And let's be honest, parts of us would actually respect that hustle. But it's not just about being a villain for the sake of it. Nikocado's idea is more layered than that. It's about shining a light on the very nature of internet culture. The very fact is, controversy sells, and outrage spreads faster than joy. We see it all the time. It's why the most extreme headlines get the most clicks, and why the loudest voices drown out the most reasonable ones. Nikocado knows this very well, and he knows that being the villain isn't just about shock value, it's about creating a conversation. And if he were to declare that this whole thing was a social experiment, what he'd be doing is exposing us, the audience, the people who clicked on his videos and fueled his rise to infamy, because we all complicit in this. It's easy to point fingers and say, oh, he's crazy, he's unhealthy, he's toxic. But every time and each time we click, each time we watch, each time we comment, we're just feeding into the same narrative, the same machine we claim to hate so much. He's not just the villain of his own story, he's kind of turned us into the villains of his and of our own in the process. Imagine the layers to that reveal. On one layer, it's just one good entertainment and one good video, but on the other, it forces us to look in the mirror. Why do we love to hate? Why are we so obsessed with this controversy? And why in a world full of content do we always end up giving our attention to the most dramatic, chaotic voices? Nikocado might be the guy who's bold enough to call us out on it. And if he is, then there is some next level stuff to that. We'd have to reconsider the way we consume content, the way we engage online, and the way we let ourselves get swept up in all of this madness. He'd basically be saying, look, I gave you what you wanted and now you're still mad about it? That's the real kicker. This whole villain persona might just be him telling us and holding up a mirror to ourselves, to this internet culture. We think we want wholesome, positive content, but the numbers don't lie. What really get clicks, the shares, the reactions, drama, that's what gets it. Chaos and villainy. So what happens next? Let's say he does it. Let's say Nikocado dropped this video and confirms that it's all been one massive calculated move. Some people would probably unsubscribe, would call it manipulative, but I bet you anything, his views would even more skyrocket. The conversation around him would be louder than ever, and he'd have the entire internet talking. And isn't that the point? Not because he's not fat anymore, but instead to keep us engaged, the audience engaged, for better or worse. In the end, his story might just be the villain we deserve. Not because he's the quote-unquote bad guy, but because he's reflecting back all of the parts of internet we pretend don't exist. The chaos, the controversy, and the endless cycle of outrage. He's the one exposing it for what it is, a never-ending social experiment where we are the subjects. So, would you keep watching? Would you click on this video? I think most of us would, because love him or hate him, Nikocado has mastered the art of getting under our skin. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what he wants.